So today we have a very privileged guest, Dhairya Pujara out here. A round of applause for Dhairya Pujara, please. He's the CEO of Hult Center, and I know you guys have not come here to see me or talk or listen to me talk to, but I'll hand over the mic to Dhairya and let's have to know what he says.
Thanks, Arjun. Thank you for having me here, guys. Are we all set with everything that we need? All good. Let me check this. Yes, it works. Absolutely. You can hear me, I know that for sure. And if you cannot, just stop me. By the way, he just said I'm the founder CEO of our Hult Center. And my name, as you can see, which even I have to refer every time, it is complicated, Dhairya Pujara. So just call me D for the sake of this presentation. And if you want to learn my name, we can have a 101 after that. It's a Sanskrit word, and it means patience and courage. I'm very sure about the courage part. You already have a question?
Yeah, I'm just going to ask you.
That never happens. Go ahead.
If you have a question to be asked, it comes, or should we wait?
That's a great question. For you, I'll make an exception. You can ask me. No, I'm joking. I don't mind actually you asking me, stopping me and asking me questions right there. But the way I want to do this is I'll share my story. I won't talk about how businesses are created. That's why you are paying tuition to be here, right? They already teach you that. I'm going to give you a real story of how I created what I have here. And in that story, if something doesn't make sense, or if something needs to be clarified, feel free to just ask me a question and we can do it that way as well. But I really encourage questions. They say the worst question is the one that you never ask. So please ask. Simple. Okay, let's start the story. I'm not from US, you know that. I was born and brought up in India. I started my first company when I was 19. The only reason I wanted to do that is because it's cool. I wanted to basically be the rich tech billionaire college undergrad, founder who eventually drops out of college, wears a hoodie and sits on a computer all day. That didn't happen. I didn't drop out of college, but that's how I started. That was my first tech company. What that company did for me was I got, oh, by the way, just to say, while I'm talking, you can also tweet me if you have questions, if you can, not hold it until the end. You can just tweet me if you have any questions, and I can, my phone is right there, I'll check it. Okay, so I started this first company when I was 19, tech startup, that's the way to go, right? Most easiest way to start a company. I'm not taking it away from anyone who has a tech company, by the way. But that was simple. It doesn't require too much capital. So I'm like, let's start an e-commerce company in India. This is in 2009 in India where we still had Orkut. Anyone remembers that thing? That terrible thing? Orkut? Some of them, right? Orkut. It was like the MySpace of India. It was very bad. Google owned it. But everyone was on Orkut, not our parents, luckily. So that was new for us. While that happened, I realized the internet is really getting in India. So let's create this first internet e-commerce company in India. This is what happened after I did that. We got featured in one of the most prestigious newspapers in India, Hindustan Times. This is me right there. I swear I'm not making this up. That is really me. I don't know if I still look that way. But so that's me and two of my friends. The reason I had to share this story was we were 19. Nobody would take us seriously. That will happen to you at any age when you start with entrepreneurship. Your first venture, people are going to say, this is stupid. You're never going to make it. You're going to fail. Don't do this. It already exists. How are you going to raise money? No one is going to give you a penny, a dime. So me and my friends, we went to a huge investor, actually a huge private company. I'm not going to name them because we are recording this. And I know it's eventually going to go somewhere. I don't want to be sued. So we went to this big company, a very famous one. I know 100% that all of you know the name of that company. But again, I'm not going to talk about it. Maybe off the camera. So we went there to raise capital. After 1 hour of our meeting, the guy says, we love your idea. Here is a big problem with it. You guys are just 19, 20-year-olds. Who the hell are you to sit in my office and ask me for money? In fact, I can just walk out right out of this office. I have 100 employees working under me and just tell them to recreate that website, which is going to take 3 days, and just have you guys thrown out of this place. It was very disrespectful. So me and my friends had a small code. When the meeting is going south, we start kicking each other under the table, which means it's time to leave. It's not going to work out. My friends started kicking me. Dude, let's go. I was the one who was doing all the talking, which you can imagine. So I'm doing all the talking. The guy tells me, you have a great idea. I'm not going to give you a dime. In fact, not only not give you a dime, I'm going to go out and do this myself. My company can do it. We could do it ourselves. You guys are no one. So the meeting is gone. And before I leave, I didn't want to leave it like that. I need to respond to that. I'm an entrepreneur after all. But there's a thin line between being very modest and being very rude and being confident. And how do you don't cross that? So this is what happened. My friend started kicking me, and I'm like, sir, I know we are done here. Thank you so much for your time today, for taking this meeting with us. To answer your question, who are we and why you should, you don't trust us and all that, here's my response. You may be the sales executive head of a billion-dollar company in Mumbai or India or globally. Me and my friends, you're right here next to you, we are the owners of our company. That's the difference between me and you. That was the first time I realized the power to own something, to be an entrepreneur. It's just more than that. And no one can talk to us like that. So what if you're 19? We own this thing. We're the founders. We're the owners of a small company, as opposed to you, which is just a small nut in a big machine, which even if it falls apart, no one would give a damn. So that was my first story about entrepreneurship. It really gave me a huge kick when I said that. Like, I get goosebumps every time I talk about that. After that, I had to live my classic Indian dream. Anyone knows what that is?
Bollywood.
What is that?
Bollywood.
Bollywood. That's one of the classic Indian dreams. But the classic Indian dream is to come to America. So my next chapter in the story begins in America. I came to US in 2010 to get my master's in biomedical engineering at Drexel University in Philadelphia. The reason I wanted to do biomedical engineering was when I was 16, I made a list of everything I want to be in life. Rock star, dancer, actor, director, rocket scientist, astronaut, engineer, doctor. I mean, astronaut is something everyone has in common, I know that. Most of us. If not, I'm sorry for your childhood. So I had that list, and I'm like, what can I do? I'm already 21 now, so I'm already an engineer. I picked biomedical so I can cross off doctor and engineer together. And that's the only reason I spent $100,000 to come to US and do a master's. I'm kidding, by the way. But no, really, that is one of the many reasons. The other one was I hate to spend my time on eating food. So I'm like, if I get into biomedical engineering, eventually I'll invent a device that doesn't require us to have food, so I can continuously work. I'm a workaholic, so I can focus on working and not having to cook and then eat and then actually clean up. And you have roommates. What a mess that is. So I came to US. I was here studying at Drexel University, doing my master's. 2012, let's not get into that, that's a boring story. But in 2012, when I graduated, I got a meritorious service award from my university, which is given to one grad student out of 7,000 students. We have a huge university, 21,000 students on our campus. So I got this award, and something terrible happened after this. So I graduated. My parents took their first international trip to come for my graduation ceremony. It was wonderful. Everything was like a fairy tale, right? Everything's happening like perfectly right. Every time I post something about my graduation, I get like 300 likes and all that. That's, something's right when that happens. That's a metric to judge. So that happened to me. But then something terrible happened. I'm an entrepreneur. I started my first company when I was 19. What is the worst thing that can happen to an entrepreneur? Anyone?
Work with your friends.
Work with your friends?
Your close friends.
Bankrupt. Yeah. That's terrible. Work under someone. Yeah. Anyone else? What do you think? Lose the interest. Yes, man.
Just give up.
Just give up. Yeah, that's one of the worst things that can happen. A lot of them. Something happened to me as well. I got a job. Right? Just like as you said, that's one of the worst things that can happen to an entrepreneur. You work for someone else. You are not working on your idea. I mean, I worked for myself when I was 19, and now I have 2 educational degrees. I have a master's in something, and now I'm going to eventually, after so much educational background, I'm going to end up working for someone. Makes no sense to me. So I decided I'm going to do this. I'm going to quit my job, which I did. But this is the fun part. I did it on the same day, 5:30 p.m. So first day I go to my job. It was July 3rd, 9 to 5. I work in that healthcare IT company in New Jersey. By the way, I'm not making this up. Just Google me. You'll see it everywhere. And in fact, if you come after this conversation, want to meet me, my business card, I printed my story on the business card. I was just fascinated by Mark Zuckerberg's style. I'm the CEO bitch. Right? I didn't want to go that far. There's no faculty here, by the way, right? There's none. Because they never invite me back when I say those things. So I was very inspired. I need a fancy business card that really, resonates with my personality. So I printed my business card, my whole story on my business card, my whole story, literally. Whatever I'm talking today, it's everything on my business card. And it's not a giant business card, it's a regular sized business card. I'll show it to you later on. So that happened. I quit my job on first day. The next thing I know, I'm on a plane to a random country that I never heard about, Mozambique, right here. How many of you, honestly, please don't lie, knew about this country's position in the map? Mozambique. Few of them. I was not one of them, by the way. Literally, I quit my job. The next thing I know, I'm going to a country where people speak a language which I don't even understand. I'm from India, trust me, I speak 4.5 human languages and 2 computer languages. And none of this is going to be useful because I'm going to a country where people speak Portuguese. They say something about Portuguese. Anyone speaks Portuguese here? Oh, you do? Como estás? Brazil or? Brazilian Portuguese is different, I can always say that. No, but it's quite similar. Estou bem, obrigado. I like to show off. So now I speak almost 5 languages. Portuguese is the next one. So I'm going to this country, a war-torn nation. I was very idealistic. Quitting my job on first day, I want to change the world now. That was my next big thing. I don't know how or what, I just want to do it. I want to change the world. I'm an entrepreneur. By the way, entrepreneurship is not going to be defined when you start a company. You can be an entrepreneur and never have started a company. And you have a question, I know that, so let's go.
What made you choose
Mozambique. The philosophical and the emotional answer to that is, I didn't. They chose me. And you will see how that happened. But, a great question, because after I quit my job, I called my university president. Because they gave me an award, right? The Meritorious Service Award and all of that. So they knew me. Out of 25,000 students I have on our campus, I was one of the known faces to my president and all the deans and everyone. So I called them. I wrote an email actually saying, hey guys, thank you for the graduation and all that. By the way, my first day at the job was amazing. Here is a big deal. I'm actually quitting it today and I'm coming back to Drexel campus. So they first thought, when they heard that part, that I'm quitting my job on first day, they said, you are insane. Really, I'm not making it. They said, you are insane. Second, when I said, that's not the only thing, you need to know one more thing. You have an international program that takes biomedical engineers to Africa. I want to be working in that group. Hire me. So they said, you are definitely insane. You need an insanity check. First, you quit your job and now you're actually asking us to hire you in a position that doesn't exist. It's still not the best part. And after that I said, I don't need you to pay me money. Just hire me because I'm on an Indian passport, an F1 visa, which a lot of you must be. We had to work somewhere, otherwise in 60 days we are thrown out of this country. So I told them, hire me, don't pay me. I'm an entrepreneur, I'll pay myself. So they hired me as the associate director for Drexel's international program that sends medical engineers to Africa. And that's what took me to Mozambique. So I was in Mozambique, obviously very idealistic. In fact, really fun thing happened. I was in the transit at South African airport. So those guys asked me, where are you going? I'm like, Mozambique. So even they were shocked, why am I going to that country? But then I said, no, I'm going to work in a hospital. They're like, wait, so an Indian guy from US is going to Mozambique. What the hell are you doing in South African airport? They thought, there's a lot of drugs problem, transit problem in that particular part of the world. So I don't know how to respond. I was scared that I'm not going to make it to Mozambique. But what really made me feel that point was, what a global sentence that is. An Indian guy from America stuck in South African airport to go to Mozambique. I knew I've arrived somewhere in my life. So much global. We keep talking about being a global citizen. Right here was a sentence that completely defines me, the Indian guy from US, and that's actually what's on my business card as well. So the next thing, I show up in Mozambique. That's the next chapter of my story. I don't know if you can see this picture well. Could you guys see this picture? Okay. What about if you just turn on these lights, those 3? If that's possible. If you switch off those, people will sleep. By the way, I'm sure if you're sleepy, you'll get a great sleep listening to me. And if you're not sleepy, I'll kick the ass out of your inspiration, whatever that looks like. If you want to be inspired, I'll make sure that happens. Now can you see it?
Better?
Everyone say yes, so I know yes?
Yes.
Oh, awesome, so it works 100%. Okay, so when I first reached Mozambique, this hospital where I was supposed to work, I found out that medical incubators, you've heard of incubators? Anyone? Everyone kind of knows about it, incubators, right? They exist, but they don't work. Because of which, a lot of babies could never celebrate their first birthday. Infant mortality is very huge in Mozambique and a lot of other countries on the African continent, and even some Asian countries. Something as simple as baby incubator, which is about just providing warmth to the baby, because baby could not do it themselves, and it exists, but it just doesn't work. They have been donated all over the world to Mozambique, but they don't know how to use it, or it's broken, and they don't know how to fix it, because they're American or German medical equipment or some Western country medical equipment. No one has any idea how to use it. So that was my first challenge. When I see a challenge and a problem as an entrepreneur, I don't feel sad about it. I'm like, yes! Now that I know this is exactly what I'm here for. But here's a twist. My first few weeks in Mozambique, I didn't do shit. I'll be honest. Because I don't speak Portuguese when I first landed up there. So lesson number one for me was that no matter what kind of an entrepreneur you want to be in your life, how many problems you want to solve and all that blah blah blah, if you do not connect with that local community, you're not going to be able to do shit. That's exactly what I did, or I didn't. I didn't do anything. So I started learning the language. And after I did that, I started creating a program where I started training on how to fix medical equipment. So my biomedical engineering kind of worked. I was training them on how this is a very nostalgic picture. This was the first medical device that I fixed. It's a medical aspirator. Have you heard of aspirators? It's like a human vacuum pump, just to make it simple. So this one fixed it, but only under one condition I would fix this medical equipment. Bless you. Is if someone stands next to me and learns it how to do. Because eventually someday I'm going to be in Boston speaking to a bunch of Hult school students. Who's going to fix it then? So I made sure every time I fix something, I want someone to stand over my shoulder and learn how to do it so that it can continue to happen. This was some other medical equipment that I tried to fix. In fact, when you live in small towns like this, in countries like Mozambique, the news spread like wildfire. So there was a news. An Indian guy from US, he's kind of a weird guy because he has medical engineering, but he's not a doctor. Because they keep calling me doctor in Mozambique. Despite me telling I'm not, please don't say that, stop saying that. They still call me doctor. So they're like, doctor, you fix this. They think I can fix humans and machines. That's medical engineering definition for them. Because they're like, how can you not be a doctor if you're medical in your engineering, in your degree, in your education qualification? But I couldn't explain it to them. Anyway, so there was a news spread that there's a guy from India who knows how to fix everything. So I had a very small office. The next thing I know, everyone is outside my office with DVD players, table fans, cell phones. You think I'm kidding? Look at this. Fan. I'm trying to fix a fan. So this happened. By the way, it was not working. Did I fix it? No, hell no. I can actually claim that I did, but I didn't. But my colleague was looking, what the hell are you doing? Like, do you even know how this works? I don't, but this is a good part about this. It doesn't work since last 5 years, which is what they told me. I'm at least giving a hope by trying to look like I'm trying to make something work here. So this kept happening. We had so many people. There's basically what really happened here. This is actually symbolism of the fact that there was a hope in the community that things can be fixed. And that's why I was actually sometimes even an electrician on call. Like I got a call from a dentist in the hospital because we all lived together. All the houses were closer by. Dr. Kwamba. I have an African name now, Mozambican name. My name is Kwamba. I mean, of course, they cannot say Dhairya for the life of me, or the life of them, but I have a local name, it's called Kwamba, and like Dr. Kwamba, Doutor, because it's Portuguese, Dr. Kwamba, we have some things that needs to be fixed in our home. So out of courtesy, as a good human being, I showed up. When I showed up to their house, they don't offer me water, I'm just like the electrician, like, go right there, that's where you need to go. They won't allow me to sit, take a breath, I just show up at their door and they would just direct me to where the problem is. That fan you see, you need to go there and fix it. And let us know, we are in the other room watching TV. So they're not even like courtesy standing next to me and I'm trying to fix things here. And my master's in biomedical and all that just boils down to me fixing fans. But then I started doing my research, understanding how big of a problem this is. This number shocked me. In Mozambique, there's one doctor for 40,000 people. Just one doctor for every 40,000 people. And the dots didn't connect for me when I realized that a lot of medical equipment donations, in fact, the hospital where I worked, I did an inventory check. They had medical equipment worth $80,000 US. It seems low right now, but for them it's great. and no one knows how to use it. It's locked up in a cabinet. People take pictures of it, they Instagram it, especially all the American students when they go there, they take selfies with this thing. Me with device. What the hell is that? Anyway, they do all that, they write a blog post about it. Me in Africa, me in Mozambique, me making change. Hell no. Those equipment have been there for 5 years. 70 volunteers had been to those hospitals. No one bothered to teach someone or one of those guys on how to fix them or how to use them, or even tried for that matter. So that really bothered me a lot. And this was my next big mission of how do I solve this. So I realized fixing is fine, but what if I teach the doctors to use what they have right now? They can spend more time to see more patients. Simple example is, right now they're spending 3 minutes trying to take a blood pressure check with analogous machine. But they already have digital blood pressure machines, ECG and all of that. They can just hook up a patient to that and then go and see the other patient. Now their efficiency increases 300%. I cannot fix the problem of 1:40,000. It requires more medical schools. I'm not claiming it's a band-aid solution, not a systemic change. I understand that. You can question me, Dhairya, what you do here is not going to be sustainable. It's true, it's not sustainable. It's me, one guy, teaching 5 people. I'm not going to change the world with that. It's a beginning. It was a start. I had to start somewhere. This was the first day of me teaching the classes. We didn't have Microsoft PowerPoint presentation. Forget PowerPoint. We didn't have power that day. So I'm using a blackboard and a white chalk, the old school style, teaching PQRST wave, how an ECG looks like. It was just getting worse because as I started teaching this, they said, there's no way you're not a doctor. You know more than us. These people are doctors. They're like, you know more about heart waves and cardiogram than we do. So they kept calling me doctor, and actually, I'll tell you how it all connects. That was a huge problem because they kept calling me doctor. So I started teaching the doctors. I taught only 5 doctors who can then teach more people. So that teach the teachers program. I'm not teaching the entire hospital. And these doctors are also responsible to go to 5 other hospitals in the local of 250 miles. So my training program was spreading to 3 or 6 villages approximately in next 6 months. I got invited by the Ministry of Health over there, trying to figure out who the hell is this guy and what is he doing. It seems like something good. So let's just talk to him. This is where everything comes together. This is why I'm standing here. This is why Y Center exists. On January 2nd, 2013, there was a patient that was brought in he met an accident. I've said this story multiple times actually, but every time I say this, I have to just go back to that time because I think January 2nd, 2013, a lot of people in this world were trying to still get over a very bad hangover. I was in my room this early morning and they literally dragged me, doctor, you need to come to the hospital. It's 10 in the morning, I'm just relaxing, it was off. The patient was lying, he had met an accident and they said, the aspirator that you fixed last month, I showed you the picture, the aspirator, we need to use this on this patient and then send it to the operation room. We need to clear up the blood and vomit that is in his mouth so that it's cleaned up for us to operate. So I'm like, okay, let me look at that. I looked at the aspirator, everything looked fine. All the tubings, everything that we replaced were still intact. So we are like, let's change and try it in another plug point. We tried multiple power outlets, it just didn't work. To figure out eventually that there is no power in the hospital, there's no electricity. Now we think it's basic, but in daytime we are not using any electricity, so we didn't know that there's no electricity. We spent 10 minutes just trying to, common sense. Sometimes when you're too educated, you don't ever think about basic problems. I started looking at, what, this vent could be wrong, this is wrong. I never thought that there's no electricity. It wasn't. After 10 minutes, I'm like, by the way, I remember when I first arrived to Mozambique, you gave me a tour of this hospital. There is a generator somewhere. Let's open that up. The generator is in a room. The keys to that room is with some guy, which they don't know where he is. So everyone started shouting in the hospital, bring the generator room guy, we need to get him here, this is emergency. We found the guy after 15 minutes, we opened the generator room, and they're like, this is the generator. I'm like, great, let's switch it on. They're like, it doesn't work. Wait, why do you think I want to dance on that generator? Why did I say I need the keys to the generator room? I thought we can switch it on so that we can use the aspirator. They're like, no, it's not working since 3.5 years. When you asked for it, we thought you were going to fix it and use it right now. I cannot fix it right now in real time. A huge generator that has been broken for 3.5 years. In all this drama and this circus, the guy died. I'm not really a doctor, so I'm not used to seeing people die in front of me. It's true. I'm not capable of handling that kind of event or that kind of emotional situation. I don't know if anyone have seen someone dying on a patient bed. It's terrible to see that. You see someone is alive and the next moment they are gone. It's horrible. That day I decided I want to somehow want to make this better. In last 5 years, there have been 70 engineers, mechanical engineers, electrical engineers in this hospital. No one tried to fix this. Forget that. Why did no one in the community itself try to figure it out? So I promised them in my very bad Portuguese that I'm going to try to fix this. And in their very bad English, they said, we are very happy, let's do this together. 1 mile away from that hospital, just a mile, I found this guy. He's been living there for 12 years. He's a car mechanic. I'm like, do you know how to fix a generator? He's like, I can try. I actually worked in a hospital and I worked with generators like 12 years ago when I was in South Africa. So he spoke English because he was in South Africa. So that was a bonus for me. I'm like, okay, I have 2 months left before I go back to US. Let's do this. We figured out, we spent $1,200, imported a circuit board from South Africa. That was the D-Day. Like, I had like 3 days, 4 days left before I was flying back to US. We installed the circuit board. It didn't work because there was no battery. So we took out the battery from the ambulance of the hospital just to see if it's working, put it in the generator, it works. It works as we stand here and I give you this, share my story. It still works. But that day I realized, how do we keep doing this? And why did this happen in the first place? A lot of volunteers came, there are so many problems, nobody bothered to ask them. So let me create a program where students can learn this on the go, where students don't just volunteer, they do impactful work, very accountable. I'm actually sick of people telling me, oh yeah, 9 to 5, Monday to Friday, I work in JP Morgan. Saturday, Sunday, I want to give back to the society. I read an amazing thing about a Brazilian CEO. He said, when you say that you want to give back to the society, you took a lot from the society. You took more than you deserved. Don't do that in the first place. What do you mean by giving back? Why doing good is an unconventional thing? Why is it not a part of your regular life? So I wanted to remove that word volunteering, and I wanted to make it a serious learning academic program where people learn on the go. That generator would be your lab, and you have 6 weeks to learn about how a generator works, read about it theoretically, and actually fix it in 6 weeks. It's possible. I did it in 4 weeks with this guy. It's very weird. He's wearing a Penn State jersey. I have no idea where that came from, by the way. But every time I see that picture, I was going to put him on my homepage, but a lot of Americans told me, this was like 2 years ago, you don't want him on your homepage, especially with what's going on with Penn State right now. That was like 2 years ago. But this guy really was my inspiration that if we can do this, if a student like me, one guy can fix this, how about having a host of students all over the world fix problems in Mozambique and involving the community? How do I involve the community? You guys have heard of TED Talks?
Yeah.
Everyone?
Yeah.
Yes?
Yes.
Awesome. I did a TEDx conference at Mozambique. I thought this would be a cool idea to bring local people together. But they have no idea what the hell TED is. Or what is a TEDx? I'm like, but this is going to be amazing. I'm going to bring people like him, which you saw in the previous slide, to come and, to meet other people. So when something like a catastrophe like that happens again, you know which assets in your community to tap into. Bring the community together. They're not fighting with each other, but they're not even together. They're not apart, but they're not together. They're not using their own assets. They're still waiting for an American student to show up, which by the way does nothing but an Instagram post. So how do I change that? So I figured out I'm going to first do a TEDx conference, the first ever in the country of Mozambique, but I have no money to do that. So I called up TED in New York. I know those guys pretty well. They offered me a job back in 2012. Didn't get it through. Different story, a different talk maybe. I called TED. I'm like, I need to do this in Mozambique. They're like, okay, we will send you a box worth $5,000, $3,000 with microphone, inverter, so I can have power on the day of presentation. We're going to send you TED Talks burnt, like the best TED Talks with Portuguese subtitles in it that you can show to your community members who show up. And we'll send you some DVD player, a camera to record the event. They sent a box. It was called TEDx in a box, $3,000. It was amazing. The box came all the way to the Mozambican airport. I went to the Mozambican airport to get it. They said, it's going to cost you $5,000 for us to give you this, the customs. Learned about a new problem, corruption. It's rampant. You can't just do good things in the world. That doesn't exist. There's so many other things. If you want to just go and start creating a program that's going to give everyone computer literacy, no, you'll have to fight the local schools, local teachers, the parents who said, no, we don't trust you guys to come and teach my kids. There's so many problems. So corruption, never thought of that as a problem while doing a TEDx conference. Hicks, the corruption in this country is going to stop me doing a TEDx conference. It did. But I was more baffled by the fact that, you guys are not even good corrupt people. The cost of that box is $3,000. At least ask me less than that. You're asking me for $5,000. Doesn't even make sense. It doesn't make business sense for me to even corrupt you. I'll just buy that. Anyway, they sold everything. I never got hands on access to that kit. And we were not going to do the TEDx, but we did it. We did it with coconut and banana leaves because we had no money. So we used the local things that we had. We used coconut leaves to make the TED letters. We went to local restaurants. I spoke my broken Portuguese. They found it very cute, and they just gave me a few biscuits and cookies and bottled water for all my community members. And the next thing we know, we did one of the world's most innovative TEDx conference in the country of Mozambique, and also the first one. We got featured on TED's website. This is actually a picture of our conference, which we did. We had 70 people show up in 110 degrees outside. I got interviewed by TED. It's on their website. If you Google TEDx Mozambique, you'll find this. So as I said, it was one of the most innovative TEDx conferences, one of the top 3 innovative TEDx conferences in 2013. The second one was TEDx Kabul. Someone told me the whole fact it happened in Kabul was very innovative. But we did this one, and it led me to my next quest of, all this was fine. Now, how do I shift the balance from people think that a lot of communities in Africa need this. But my challenge to you is, do they want this? You guys know the difference, need and want? See, there's a reason there are 2 different English words, by the way. Need and want. They definitely mean something else. They're not the same. And they are actually very much governed by opinion and perspective. Anyone here would say they don't have an opinion about something? Everyone has an opinion about something in your life? Everyone has at least one opinion about something in your life. Anyone who doesn't need to raise hand, but everyone who has an opinion about something in their life. Everyone does? I want to make sure everyone does. That guy on the phone, he doesn't have it. Do you have an opinion, sir? I'm sorry to disturb you. Okay, opinions, right? But perspectives. Not everyone has a perspective. Let's find out why. You've seen this picture, right? You know about this. Everyone does. Nothing big here. What's your opinion on this? Anyone? Okay, yeah. Yeah, that's an observation. What's your opinion? What do you think about it? What is it? It's a great picture, okay. Fair enough. What else? Any other opinion? What is that? Well, that's interesting, right? I never picked that up before. Very cool. Yeah.
You have your water bottle right now in the hand. If you want to drink some water, they have to go to some fountain or whatever to get the water, the clean water to their toilet or whatever.
Good or bad?
Bad. My opinion is that's kind of stereotype that we have countries like maybe Mozambique to get clean water.
Yeah, even in Indian villages, some of villages, we have the same problem. Yeah. It's all women. Anyone else? Someone you had something to say?
Yeah, you say maybe you should program that we open the tap and just want to water, but that's the reality.
Yeah.
I'm not sure that it's bad or there is some water. Of course it can be better, but it
Yeah.
can be worse.
But I love what you just said about tap. We take this invention so much for granted. Twisting something and getting something that's so much important for living a life. We just take it for granted every day. We use it. Yeah, it would be cool to have a tap, right? But they don't. Someone there had something to say. Yeah. But anyone else want to add an opinion to this? You guys have opinions. I know that. I asked you and you said yes. Anyone has an opinion? Final count. Opinion 1, opinion 2. Come on, some opinions. Come on, you have an opinion. I know that. Don't lie. Someone there? You, yes.
When they should carry water like this, they can change their lifestyle.
What is that?
I think they are carrying water, right?
Yeah.
I think they can change their lifestyle why they should carry water.
Yeah.
Maybe they don't know that like this.
That's a good question to think about. Yeah, sure. So, I'm an engineer. My opinion was this is bad. There's definitely a better solution, taps, which we know of. And I guess engineers like me showed up to this village. They had the same opinion. They spent $25 million in digging pumps inside every house's backyard. And now you just have to be in the backyard of your house and just pump. Your kids could do it anywhere. And it's much simpler than putting it on the top of your head. And it's also bad. When I showed it to my mom, she said, by the way, I have had 2 kids and I know my back is so vulnerable to this kind of activity. And that makes it much worse. This women, if they have had kids or they plan to have kids, their back is more vulnerable than a man's back. So I never thought of it, but she was right on. So she's like, this is very bad. They can't keep doing this. It actually reduces their lifespan. You know, so many problems. They may not be able to be completely mobile after 50. So someone did this. Now what is your opinion about this? They spent $25 million, by the way, in doing these projects. It's there in a lot of villages. It's amazing. It works, by the way. I've been there. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. So you're talking about the financial stupidity there, right?
Yeah, but and again, they're not fixing the problem. The people are still trying to stay on their head.
Yeah. You had something. Sorry?
They're just making the water cleaner. That's it.
Cleaner, yeah.
More accessible.
I think it's a good idea since if it's in the backyard of every house, the travel time to get the water,
Yeah.
just go outside and have water, that can be like a lifesaver.
Yeah. And you know, we are also talking about the temperatures being in 110, 120, extremely hot temperatures, and the terrain is rough. It's not a straight road or a jogging path. So yeah, fair enough.
I mean, you mentioned how they spent $25 million.
Yeah.
I'm only guessing like where you're trying to go with this.
Yeah.
Talk about perspective.
Sure.
Is that you may be, if they spend $25 million on infrastructure like this, it is a very, very good idea.
Yeah.
Like you're trying to help and change the community.
Yeah.
But if the people can't be behind this idea, nothing's gonna happen, which is why they might still end up carrying the waters on top of their heads. They might just not understand that.
That's a great perspective, you know. I'll touch upon that next. Anyone else? You had something? Yes.
Could leave it high.
I will touch upon that, don't worry.
You could have give each of those guys a bike.
Okay.
And the water.
That's good, but they may not know how to ride a bike again. But we can teach them maybe. Yeah. But that's a good solution. Okay. What happened? You know, after they spent $25 million, this project is happening all over the world. They didn't use it. This picture is a stock photography. I didn't take this picture, but they didn't use it. You know why? They need it, right? We all know that. They didn't want it. So they went to them. What the hell? We spent $25 million of our grant money to create this particular thing. And you know, as he mentioned, as you were asking, the community was not backing the idea. That's true. But after they made the whole thing, they went to the community and said, here it is, use it. They said, we are not going to use it. They're like, why? Because you didn't ask us. But that's stupid, right? This is cool. Well, I mean, it was assumed it's going to be good. They're like, no, you don't know, you don't understand. That was the only time when we had our social life. We are housewives. We don't have WhatsApp and Facebook to bitch about our husbands. We go out every day to get a water, which is actually the best time in our entire day, when we get to go out of our house and actually meet the other women in the community and exchange conversation. Simple. You took that away from us, our social life. You never bothered to ask. If you ask all the women in this community, no one is going to use this. We are going to still do that because you didn't ask us, right? The solution could have been more human-centric and not technology-centric or 25 million, financially centric. This brings us to the new concept of design thinking with some of you. I think you participated. Was it at Hult?
Yeah.
Yeah, the idea thing? Yeah, so you had someone here doing a design thinking hackathon, right? It's all about removing the problems and the medium and technology, not worrying about it, and putting the people in the center. Human-centered design. Let me give you a very simple example. You don't have to go all the way to the Africa. In 2010, when I was coming to US, I bought my dad a farewell gift with his own money because I'm going to US. I gave him a smartphone. He just asked me, how do I make a freaking call from this phone? Where are the buttons? He never used a smartphone before. He's like, I just got used to my Nokia phone, which you gave me a couple of years ago, and I'm very comfortable with it. It has amazing Snake game. You remember Snake? Yeah? I'm like, where the hell is all that? I'm not going to use this smartphone. I'm like, Dad, you need this. Like, I don't know. I don't need this. I don't want this. I made an assumption. Assumptions are more dangerous than ignorance. Ignorance leaves the room for learning. Hey, I don't know. Tell me. Assumption, you already assumed it's going to work, and they need it. My dad said it doesn't. And then I told him, Dad, I know the right thing to say to an Indian dad. I'm like, Dad, I'm going to US. It's like very, very far, you know that. You're paying for it, so you know it. This is the cool part about it. If you use that phone, we can Skype, you can see me, not only hear me on the phone, for free. How about that? Change the game completely. Not only did he take that phone, he took it up, he adapted that solution, he took it upon himself to learn it. There's a downside to it. He ends up playing Candy Crush all day. Oh no, that's not the downside. He sends friend requests to my friends. And for Candy Crush as well, he gets extra life or something. And then my friends call me, your dad just, that's also okay. But when you do that to your exes, that's dangerous. Yeah. But that is a perfect example of difference between need and want. You know, you do not want to assume things. If the community is behind your idea, they're going to take it upon themselves and learn it and use it in unimaginable ways for good, hopefully. So at Voice Centered, I lose my clicker, which is in my pocket. No, that's not what we do at Voice Centered. But after I learned that, I'm like, how do we go about understanding the communities? Should we ask them? No, if you ask them, this is what happens. I love this sentence by Henry Ford. If you ask people, they're just going to say they need faster horses. You don't go to ask people, hey, how about me giving you a tab? That will solve all your problems. You didn't ask that. You imposed your solution, and you actually want to hear the answer that you already have in your head. And people don't know sometimes. So the best way to do is immerse yourself in the community and get a perspective through empathy, not sympathy. You know, we are looking at a problem like, oh, that doesn't solve any problem. By the way, that awe thing, it's good for the reserve that awe for the Labrador puppies on YouTube. But on cats, if you're a cat lover. But awe doesn't solve a problem. That's sympathy. Empathy, when you understand it from the first hand, when you live there, live in the community, when you hold that watered marks on your head, you go there every day, you will understand what did you miss. Engineers don't do that these days. We don't take volunteering seriously. We believe we are better than someone else. Hey, I'm going to go and serve that community, which means that you are in a better position to serve someone else. But who said that you are not equally vulnerable? What gives you that power? It's very much like, you know, you have a plumbing problem in your house. Someone just showed up at your house and I'm going to fix all the plumbing problems in your house. And we never called any plumber. No, I know, you know, I'm an engineer, I know how to fix this. It's almost like this, people showing up in these communities without asking community permission. Should we come to your place and work with you? And if that happens to your house, it's unimaginable. We wouldn't allow a person to be there. A lot of people just show up in these communities. I wanted to change all of that. That's what I've been doing. I don't want to talk about that because that's not my project. That was an MIT designed baby incubator. So at Y Center, we do simple things. We are learning outside the classroom and we are impacting inside the communities, not for the communities, but with the communities. I wanted to shift the paradigm from donation and charity to entrepreneurship. The projects that we do in Mozambique are now on path to become for-profit social enterprises. By the way, we do not take, my company last 2.5 years, we haven't taken a single charity dollar or a single donation grant money. It would be so hypocrite of me to do that when I say donations are not making an impact in Mozambique and then go and end up creating a non-profit that accepts donation and does good work. I wanted to create a revenue stream and show it to the community, we can do this. We can make it more sustainable. We do not have to be on the mercy of rich people. In 2009, when some jackass closed his doors on Wall Street, it affected every person all the way up to Africa and India. We started rethinking about how we operate in our businesses. They become so powerful. In fact, if you run a business like that, and then when you do businesses like mine, people say, oh, you know, that's so good, you're such a nice person, you're doing something different. What the hell? This is doing good. When did that become unconventional? I think the definition of business is providing a value, taking a risk. I do exactly the same thing. And social entrepreneurship, it's just a term. It's just like any other business. I have employees, you know, we have to make money, we need to feed people, we need to get salaries, we need to be accountable. All of that. There's no difference between social entrepreneurship and entrepreneurship, except for the fact social entrepreneurship very intentionally creates a social impact. But I believe every company should, because every company is serving people. Even if it's investment banking, you're still serving someone, and you better be good to them. Basic of being good. And I think that's how entrepreneurship should be perceived, even if it's social or whatever. Now I want to show tangibly what we have achieved in the last 2 years. This is an SMS-based platform that we have created ourselves to fight malaria in Mozambique. I have been here for 50 minutes, 55 minutes. 55 people almost died of malaria. Every 60 seconds someone does. I'm not making these statistics up, look it up. By the way, this disease was eradicated in US in 1953. People still die of it every 60 seconds. The medications for this are free in Africa. To test this, it only requires a drop of blood and 15 minutes. You still die of a disease that can be easily diagnosed, and the drugs are available for free. Again, the dots didn't connect for me. So we created a software. By the way, we named it Connect the Dots. And just for a lack of better word, we actually call it Uber for malaria testing. Yeah, it is Uber for malaria testing. You send a text message, you don't have to walk 60, 70 miles. Someone will show up at your doorstep and actually give you a malaria test in your house. You don't have to walk anywhere. We're doing this 3 villages in Africa using it with a population of 7 to 10,000. 48 community health workers, which are our Uber drivers, have been trained to respond to these messages and show up at your doorstep.
So how would you make your market say the answer that you have in your head?
Sure, I do. I have an answer for that. How do we make money out of this?
No, I mean, you have some answer prepared on your mind, and you want the community to accept your answer.
Yeah.
How would you make them realize?
This one? So this project, I didn't come up with it myself. I spent in Mozambique 5 months trying to understand what they need. They told me, the malaria test already exists. The big problem is it's 60 miles away. You should create better roads for us. I'm like, I cannot do that right now. I'm too small for that. They're like, you should give us more public transportation. I'm like, I'm too small for that. And then I'm like, what do you guys have the most which I can use? Give me something to work with. They're like, my friend, thank you for asking that question. He said, in Mozambique, we have access to 3 things. A can of Coca-Cola everywhere, a cell phone, and faith in Jesus, in that order. I kept faith in Jesus, used the cell phone while drinking my Coke, and made this product. I made this last year with a couple of students in 24 hours at a hackathon. By the way, did I make assumptions? No, what we did in our hackathon, it was here in Philadelphia. I got the community from Skype, from Mozambique, to judge the competition. They chose the winners, not people from here.
I'm just putting myself in an African.
Yeah, sure.
For example, I'm an African having malaria.
Okay.
And some serious illness.
Sure.
I'm receiving this English text.
It's Portuguese.
I would just assume it's Portuguese.
It is, yes. It's called Ola messaging. Ola is hi, so we wanted to make it very informal. All you have to do is you have to say, Ola, I'm sick. Someone will show up at your doorstep in Portuguese, not in English, of course not. What you're seeing is a prototype. And by the way, these pictures that you see, they generate beautiful graphs so that you know how many people are sleeping under mosquito nets. If anyone has studied economics, finance here, or is studying right now, do you know about multiplier effect in economics? Multiplier effect. If not, learn about it. It's a powerful term. It affects the donation and international charity. When you sell 100 mosquito nets in a community in Mozambique, the local mosquito net organizers go out of business. He was supporting 3 employees. He has a family of 4. Everyone had 4 people in their families. Now, because of that donation, 16 people have no food to eat. Because of a donation that a rock star in America, had a concert, raised money and sent mosquito nets. A real story. I'm not making this up. By the way, even if the mosquitoes reach there, they don't teach what to do with them, so they end up using them for fishing. Because you would rather not die from hunger but have malaria, which somehow you will be able to cure it. But that's it. We learned all this as a background to eventually realize what we could do best here is they have a cell phone, they know how to text even if they never went to school. We could do that. We could start using text messaging, we can connect. I'm not saying this is going to change everything, it's a start. And by the way, this thing has been adapted even in just 9 months. Today we are using this for maternal childcare. Women who are pregnant, they don't know what to eat. They don't eat right. Now we are sending them text messages saying, this is what you do. This is the difference between labor pain and a gas pain. And if you have the symptoms, go and get it checked. They deliver babies inside their house, sometimes on the way to the hospital because they didn't react fast enough. They don't know when it is time, to go and get the baby out. And then once you have the baby, you can use the same SMS system for tracking vaccinations. We send regular messages, hey, your baby must be 2 weeks old now, according to our records. Please go to the nearest center. We are going to come next month. If you don't go, we are going to get that vaccinations. Polio and all of those important ones. Yes, you have a question.
Do most families have cell phones? Or?
Yes, most of them. So Mozambique has a population of 24 million people. They have 9.5 million cell phone subscribers so far, and it's growing every day. And here comes the fun part about entrepreneurship. I was doing all of this almost illegally. Almost. Not completely, otherwise I wouldn't be here. This is where the fun part. I have an Indian passport, you know that. When I started a company like this, taking American students to work on this, by the way, by now I have already created my SMS software. The community is ready to use it. This was last year. Microsoft is officially backing this project for next 3 years. They're paying for all the technology needs. The United Nations guy is officially on my board of advisory at Y Center. Everything fine, except the guy who owns this thing cannot legally own it. Because I'm in US, I'm not allowed to start a company on the current visa status that I have. So I started looking at my options. But this sentence itself, it was very much true in my case. Entrepreneurship is literally like jumping off the cliff, and before you land, you figure out how to make a plane. I just did it. I knew about this. It was not a surprise. I always knew my visa is going to expire, and suddenly it's going to be illegal, and I'm going to face the risk of deportation. I still did it. When I face the risk of deportation, like let's say tomorrow, I'll have figured out my answer the day before. It actually went all the way up to the last day. Like that. Even after that, actually, I expired my visa. I was about to be deported, but I made it. That's why I'm here. I assure you, I have my passport in my bag. I can show it to you. I'll tell you what happened. I could get a green card, but for that, I need $500,000. I never had that. You know that. I took $100,000 in loan to study my master's. Or I could marry an American girl. Somehow that also was never an option. Finally, in 1993, I figured out American government had started a new visa category reserved for Nobel Prize winners. I'm like, that's it, that's me. By the way, don't wait for that part of my presentation where I just announce I have a Nobel Prize. I don't have it. So I'm like, that's cool, man. So you don't have to do anything. You just have to get a Nobel Prize and you get an American visa. Okay, I somehow want to see to get this. So I read about it and I found out that it's okay if you don't have a Nobel Prize. You can have an Oscar or a Grammy. I don't have an Oscar. I can act a little bit. Grammy? No, I don't sing shit. Okay, so that's out. Like, what do I do? How do I get this? Then I saw there were 6 other criteria. If you fulfill 4 of those, you are eligible to apply. You don't get the damn visa. You're just eligible to apply for the visa. And while doing that, I had no money to pay for this legal expenses. It cost $10,000 to even go through the legal process of all of this, hire a lawyer and all of that. So I did a crowdfunding campaign. I never had money by myself. I first decided what I want to do and then figure out how to pay for it. Okay, it always works so far. So I'm like, I'm going to go for this. I told the lawyer and all of that. That's fine. Now I need $10,000. So I started a crowdfunding campaign. I was very inspired from Steve Jobs' biography. When he called, you read that? Some of you? You know the story, right, about Jobs? When he called John Sculley, who was the CEO of Pepsi, who then became the CEO of Apple, who then fired Steve Jobs in a nutshell. But he said a brilliant line for marketing people. It's considered one of the most amazing marketing pitches ever in the history of mankind. Okay, I'm just making this up, but it is. I'm not making up the story, but that mankind and all that part. He called up John Sculley and said, "Are you happy selling sugar water, or do you want to do real work?" Shit. The guy actually quit the job and, "Are you happy selling sugar water, or you want to come and do real work and change the world?" That was his pitch to ask him to leave Pepsi and join Apple. And Pepsi was huge back then. I'm like, what should be my motto? So I said, I'm probably one of the few Indian guys who is not taking away the jobs from Americans, but actually creating it. Why not keep me in this country? I never said this publicly, by the way. But that was my hook. I always joked about this. I'm one of the few Indians who's creating jobs. Keep me here. So I started fighting for that visa. Spent $10,000. By the way, I raised $20,000 on crowdfunding campaign. This year in January 29th, 2015, I got an O1 visa, which is reserved for the individuals of extraordinary abilities, which is also termed as a genius visa. I'm not being immodest here. This is American government that has named this visa. The cool part about this, I spent last 6 months in Africa and India. I came thrice to this country and left, and I'm again going to India next week. Whenever I come back, no longer they ask me, what's the purpose of visiting United States of America? They ask me, what the hell? How did you get this? How old are you? What did you do? Like, did you invent some crazy shit or something? And then I tell them, yeah, I made a small SMS application that is potentially going to remove that deadly disease of malaria someday. That's my really big dream here. And that's what I do, and that's what got me this. To sum up all of this, it's almost done, we are there. It was a long one, right? But to sum up all of this, someone recently asked me, what if you didn't quit your job on that first day? Would things be different? I went through a lot of crazy shit to do this. By the way, anyone who tells you become an entrepreneur at school, yes, he's right. Or she's right. But once you started, after a few months, you're going to hit rock bottom. It's freaking it's depressive. You know why? Because the whole world thinks, wow, look at that brave person, There's a joke that entrepreneurship is like riding a lion. The whole world is like, look at that brave person on the lion. He's riding a lion. Who does that? And you are like, how the hell did I get on this? Someone take me out of this. That's really what you feel after a few months when my friends are starting to buy BMWs and Porsche. By the way, I was getting paid $70,000 a year for my job, which was my starting pay, with the promise of 10% increment in 2 years, 5% each year. I could have afforded that car that my friends have. So it started really hurting a lot. But then Forbes magazine nominated me for 30 under 30 last year. I'm like, who needs Porsche and BMW? I have this. I'm going to be on the magazine cover. I didn't make it. It was just a nomination. I've still had 2-3 years to go to make it if I want to. Anyway, that happened, and I answered that question. Would things be different if I didn't quit the job? I'm like, no. He's like, think again. What if you had a different kind of a job? I'm like, by the way, I don't think anything was wrong with the job. The job was fine. A lot of people work there. Something was wrong with me. I was just the wrong person for the right job. And then it actually made me think, everyone who's an entrepreneur like me, we don't need all of this. We do not have dream jobs. There is no dream job for my life. We have a dream or we have a job. And in my case, I chose the dream. Thank you so much for listening. I really want to open it up for questions.